it's
Hello.
Tuesday. And instead of Fishbowl Tuesday, we're going to call it Two Men and a Cup of Coffee because it's morning time and we need our
I'm not
cup
sure
of
that's
coffee.
I'm not sure that's a better name, but fair enough. We'll go with it.
So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. The first thing I'd like to know about is the buyer's market. What's it like right now? Is it really tight to find a home still, or is it opening up a little bit more in 2022? Andrew, what do you think?
Well, the one
Ryan?
thing, the buyer's market's interesting, but I wanted to ask Andrew a little bit about the rental market as well.
Okay.
Because it's interesting because we have a lot of buyers that are calling us, I should say, we have a lot of people that are renting that are calling us about buying.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, there's an influx of people that are moving here from out of town that for whatever reason have either chosen to or cannot buy, and they're choosing to rent.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about on that topic was Andrew, because he is like a rental, expert, and I wanted to find out from him what is happening with rentals right now.
It's true, I am well versed.
Like a boss.
Yeah. Well, he's right. I mean, people who want to move from out of state, they're looking at Florida. Maybe they don't know the area very well, so their first thought is maybe I should just rent for a while and get to know the area, whatever it may be. But the reality is, I mean, rental market is, I would say, arguably as aggressive with buying, and you kind of have to sit down and think about it, because do you want to go through the motions of looking for a place to live when everyone's competing for it that you don't even have a real vested interest in? If you can afford to buy something, I have a few clients who have put up quite a bit of money up front just to live in a rental, and it's like you got to really do some soul searching, because at the end of it, you paid so much money for something you don't own, you're not going to end up living in. So if you have the means to do it, I would consider it, just because it's like you're going to battle for a property one way or the other. You might as well look for something that you can just own. And maybe some people aren't ready emotionally, that's fine. Maybe some people just aren't in the headspace yet, and that's okay. But with renting, if you are going to go that route, I mean, there's a bunch of different faces that beast can have. So there's, the good thing is, yeah, sure, it's relatively short term. You don't have to stay there if you don't like it. Maybe you want to explore a different area. Maybe your job's kind of going to take you other places. That's fine.
How's the pricing on rentals?
If you want something relatively decent, you're going to be looking at least $2,000 a month right now.
Wow.
And anything below that I have seen, there's like $1,800 maybe, but like $2,000 up, you're going to be okay. If you're paying $3,000 a month, then you definitely should be thinking about a house at that point.
So listen, we're not trying to pigeonhole you here, because Andrew actually does a ton of buyer business as well. But we have some people that ask us for help with rentals, and if Andrew thinks he can help them, he will. But Andrew's been doing this for a while now. So over the past year, what have you seen happen with the rental prices? Because it feels to me like they're a lot higher.
Yeah, they are a lot higher. When I first joined the Perry Home Solutions team a little while ago, they were a little bit lower, like $1,500, $1,600. You could find something. But now the renters who've come to me, it's been difficult, actually finding something that's relatively modern, up to date, in good condition, because some of them, just let's be honest, they're not.
Right.
But the prices are going up, and a renter I'm working with literally right now, we found a place that was gorgeous. It was beautiful. They wanted $2,400 a month for it, but we ended up working out a good deal, so we got them under contract for it. But I mean, it's just to quickly go back to the idea of just thinking it through too. Some people, you're in a weird place because maybe you don't have the credit. They always want credit. Maybe you don't have a lot of money to put up front.
Right.
That's an issue too. And maybe some people don't have the best background history, and that's a reality. Some of these things come up, and that's kind of the ugly side
some
of
of
it.
the strategies that you and I put into place to overcome that, some people have come to us and there's a lot of good things about them, but their credit has been suffering.
Sure.
And sometimes they have a good excuse for it, but some places will just outright reject you for that.
Yeah.
But we have a couple strategies to overcome that. One is you simply pay more months up front.
Sure.
You pay 2, 3, 4 months up front,
Yeah.
and that kind of helps smooth that out a little bit with the homeowner.
It looks reliable. You have money that you're willing to put up. It shows that you're more serious.
Right.
And
but you got to have that money.
You got to have the money. That's
and
true.
by the way, and that money that you're putting up is about as much as you pay for a down payment if you were to buy the same place.
Exactly. Now, something
Right.
me and Brian did talk about, which is a good idea that maybe not everybody knows, but there is an option where, say you're a renter who's new to Florida, maybe you do want to buy. If you find a place that's really good and maybe it's a condo or something like that, there is the thought that could come up. Maybe the person that owns that wants to sell that in the near future, and you could live there for a little while. There's option agreements that you could talk about, whatever.
Yep.
You could put those together and maybe talk about buying it down the line when you're ready. But those are things, you got to talk to a realtor about, because that gets legally very technical, and it's not so simple as just, hey, can I live here for 12 months?
And I don't want to dwell on this for too long, but let me just throw out like the other side of the coin here and give you the sales pitch on exploring buying and not delaying that, okay? A couple quick points. Number one, interest rates are preposterously low.
Sure.
They're the lowest they've ever been in essence. And the beautiful thing about buying a home is you get to lock that interest rate in for 30 years. And so, could interest rates go down a little bit? Maybe. Are they likely to go up? Yes. And the amount that could go down is marginal. The amount that they can go up is exponential. And so to lock in an interest rate for 30 years, people are concerned about prices, and they should be. That's a factor, and I'm not trying to diminish that too much. But equally important to a buyer who's getting a mortgage is that interest rate. That influences your cost of owning that home for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. That's massive.
Yep.
And don't forget, when you're renting, that landlord will raise those rents on you up to market rate.
Yep.
But the beautiful thing about buying a home with a mortgage is you get to lock in that cost of ownership for the most part, to a large degree, for an indefinite period, up to a 30-year period of time.
Yeah.
So right now it might seem a little bit expensive, or maybe not, versus the rental market, but regardless, it may be a market rate, but 5, 10, 15 years from now, all of a sudden you're going to look at your neighbors and you're going to think, I'm darn glad that I locked this cost in now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and the Federal Reserve said in their recent minutes that they're likely going to stop some of the things they're doing, and they're likely going to start exploring raising the interest rates, in our economy here. So.
Right. And that's something you got to think about when you start hitting your 10 months into a rental, into your lease, or your 11 months, because then it's like, well, you got to talk to your landlord and figure out, maybe they can kind of give you an idea, like, are you going to be raising my rent or what? Sometimes when you live in a big complex, maybe you're just not going to know. But if you live in something that's more intimate, you talk to the landlord, he can give you some insight, because you're going to start thinking about that. And I mean, and the reality is too, to just swing back to what he's saying right now about buying, is like, even rentals too, don't get disillusioned. You still have to, most of the time, 90% of the rentals I have done have always had an HOA approval process too. You still have to be approved by HOA, even though the landlord said, yeah, I accept your offer to live in my property. You're still going to go through that with buying too. So it's almost the same thing, except you could own something versus not owning it.
And you get to pay into your own equity in the home, rather than pay off the debt on that owner and build their equity for them.
Right.
Which of course has been the classic argument.
You're paying someone else's bills, and he's looking great while you maybe are putting yourself in a slightly worse hole, potentially. I mean...
All right. Well, we beat that one right to death.
Yeah.
That was
I
awesome.
appreciate your thoughts, though, Andrew. That was very helpful.
It's very enlightening, because those of us out there that don't really know the market, and you think about, well, I just don't know if I want to buy. I'd like to rent. When you start seeing the rental costs nowadays, I mean, it's just insanity.
It's incredibly expensive. I mean, real
kind
estate
of
prices have gone
Pushing
up.
you to want to buy.
Well, and I think anybody should really, I'm not telling, listen, we don't push people. And if you're very committed to renting and there's good, we're fine with that. We're happy to help, okay? But you really should explore the concept of buying, because sometimes it's the same cost, sometimes it's cheaper. And in the long run, it can be massively beneficial.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I think
And do you want to move 3 or 4 times? You got to think about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so the second thing we're going to talk about today is Keller Williams is now offering a free real estate course to those people who would like to become realtors. Brian,
Right.
Can you give us a little insight on that?
So, we actually have a couple people that are utilizing that, including Andrew and some other people as well. And it's pretty cool, because traditionally, to get your real estate license, it costs money to get your real estate license. There's I believe it's a 72-hour pre-license course.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
72 hours of in-classroom time. So not only do you have to do that, but you have to pay for that. I think Gold Coast is Gold Coast 400.
Well, when I went to Gold Coast, it was $400.
Yeah.
More or less, and yeah,
So,
72 hours. In class.
$400 to $500 plus you have to pay for your other. Well, I guess you probably still have to pay for the state test. Is that $1,500, something like that?
Yeah, you have to pay for the state test, which is separate. There's the school test, state test,
Right.
and then of
Right.
course we're getting a little bit ahead of the game. But then you have other things that you pay for down the line too, so it
Now,
racks up.
but here's the key, So there are other brokerages out there, and I won't name them or anything, but what they do is they offer you a free real estate course where you get your license and they pay for that, but you have to sign a contract with that brokerage for a period of time or whatever, and here we don't really have strings attached to it. Keller Williams is offering a free licensure course for people that want to get into real estate, and if you wanted to explore that, that would be something that we'd be happy to connect you with.
Yeah, and as someone who is relatively, I've been doing this for a little while now, but I'm not the most experienced. I mean, he's got way more years on it than I do. But for someone who just kind of went through it, if it's free, it's actually not a bad idea, considering that the reality is that I've learned working with Brian is most people will get a realtor license and then realize it's not like what they saw on TV. And then all of a sudden you're $400-$500 deep in something that really you might not want to really end up doing, because it is a lot of work. It's not just, we make the joke about you don't get your issued Mercedes and all this stuff. It's a lot different than that. So the reality kind of hits some people. So if you can have a free course that you can really decide, is this really for me, and no skin off your teeth, really, it's not a bad idea.
Right. Yeah, because you can watch HGTV.
Yeah.
And you can make a real estate and career life decision based on HGTV.
Right.
But HGTV is fake.
Yeah, and I mean, because on TV they just flock to you.
Yeah.
You gotta go out there. You gotta put in work.
So in HGTV, I believe that they automatically they have to expose a little bit of chest hair,
A little chest hair.
a nestled gold chain. I believe
You have to get a fresh tan.
Right.
Yeah.
And then automatically you get $1 million buyer and $1 million listing.
Right.
And
On the
then,
beach.
And you must stand on the patio overlooking the beach on your cell phone negotiating the deal.
Yeah.
That is how HGTV says that real estate operates.
Right.
I can tell you it doesn't work like that for everybody.
Not quite.
Not exactly the same thing.
Slightly different. Yeah.
So, anyway.
All right. Last thing I have on our agenda today is our annual Sip and Shred. Unfortunately, our go-to place, Due South, has closed their doors.
Very sad.
Very sad.
So
One of my favorite institutions of the Boynton Beach area.
Mm-hmm.
Real
So what
sad.
we're looking for is ideas of where possibly we could hold our Sip and Shred this year. We were tossing things around yesterday, but we'd like to know.
Well, let me
what do you guys
share
think?
what Sip and Shred is. So this is an event that we've been putting on for years, and our clientele and everybody, we actually kind of invite pretty much anybody. Anybody's really welcome to come if you receive our invitation, which is kind of broadcast on social media and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically what it is we would rent a big shredding truck, a commercial grade secure shredding truck that would shred documents in a very secure way right there on the spot. You can watch them do it in essence. And we did it at Due South, number one, because they have space to accommodate us, and number two is because, they have beer. And, kind of like beer.
Beer is nice.
Beer's good.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I'd say, anybody can come for free, bring your shredding stuff, they'll shred it for you, and I will buy you a beer while you're there, and we can chat and have fun and whatever. I mean, we're going to drink the beer away from the shredding truck for safety reasons, but we'll still have fun and enjoy it. Well, unfortunately, Due South closed down after years in business, and that really just kind of is not great. So we're looking for another venue that could be valuable in that same way. And so if anybody out there has any thoughts or ideas on another place that we could host this, we bring a bunch of business, people go there, they buy a bunch of extra drinks and food or whatever. And so it's really beneficial. So if anybody has any ideas, please let us know.
How big would you say the truck is to accommodate the space?
Well,
I didn't understand what you meant by that.
Well,
it's like a
we need a
like
place that can accommodate
yeah,
the
it's
size.
like a-
It's got to be big
it's
enough
like
to have
a
us.
U-Haul
Yeah.
truck, like big, like a miniature
It's
solid waste
got
truck.
to have a
but-
good sized parking lot because we're going to bring the truck, and then of course, we have about 100 people come in various degrees, and so it's got to be able to accommodate a degree of traffic and everything else. And anybody that's been to Due South knows that they've got a pretty good sized parking lot. And they have a big open area where people can kind of hang out in there and everything. So it was kind of perfect for that. It doesn't have to be that big, but it does have to be able to come. But anyway, we welcome any ideas or thoughts. So please let us know, post it in the comments or shoot us a DM or whatever, call us, whatever.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you for hanging out with me today,
Thank you, Meg.
and we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.